Have you ever felt that no matter how hard you try, life seems to insist on pulling you back to the same place? That every time you take a step forward, something invisible pushes you back 2 steps? Sometimes it feels like there's a force within us, silent but powerful, sabotaging our own dreams. And the most painful thing is realizing that this force doesn't come from outside. It comes from within. Today's story is about this, about the moment someone ordinary discovers that true change does not begin when the world changes, but when the mind awakens. It was an ordinary day. One of those days that slips by unnoticed, where everything seems the same, where time flies by and life seems to repeat itself like a broken record. A young man woke up with a heavy feeling in his chest. He had plans, goals, dreams that once made him smile. But now everything seemed distant, almost unattainable. He looked in the mirror and saw someone tired, not just physically, but emotionally drained. He had tried everything, waking up earlier, making lists, motivating himself with beautiful phrases, but nothing seemed to work. There was always an excuse, a fear, an inner voice telling him he wasn't good enough. On the outside, he kept a smile, fulfilled his obligations, and tried to appear strong. But inside, there was a growing emptiness, a constant doubt. Am I meant for something greater, or is this just an illusion? Sometimes at night he would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, his mind filled with hurtful thoughts. He would compare himself to others, see people succeeding, achieving, living the life he wanted to live, and ask himself, what do they have that I don't? The answer he didn't know yet, but he was about to find out. One day, while walking alone, lost in thought, he came across an elderly man sitting on a park bench. He was a simple man with a calm gaze, the kind that seems to see beyond what is visible. The young man, without knowing why, sat down beside him. They were silent for a few minutes until the old man spoke. "You seem tired, but not in body. You seem tired in soul." The young man was surprised. He hadn't expected someone to see him so closely without him saying anything. "Yeah, I guess I'm tired of trying and failing," he replied. The man smiled calmly. "Trying is good. But sometimes what stops us isn't what we do. It's what we believe while we do it." The young man frowned. "What do you mean?" The old man turned to him and said, "You can plant the best seed, but if you believe the soil is no good, you'll never water it with faith, and the plant will die before it even sprouts. What kills people's dreams isn't failure, it's the belief they don't deserve to succeed." Those words echoed in the young man's mind. He realized that perhaps the problem wasn't a lack of effort, but a lack of belief. He acted, yes, but with fear, with doubt, with that constant feeling that nothing would work. It was like running with an anchor attached to his foot. That night, something changed. He decided to look within, without masks, without excuses. He realized how much he had sabotaged himself by believing the voices that told him, "You can't do it. You're not cut out for this. There's no point in trying." He understood that the mind is the breeding ground for everything, and that if he wanted to harvest something different, he would need to plant different thoughts. The following days weren't easy. Change never is. He still felt fear, still had doubts, but little by little he began to discipline himself. He began waking up with a purpose, not just an alarm clock. He wrote on a piece of paper, "I can, I deserve it, I will achieve it." And I read it every day, even when I didn't believe it, especially when I didn't believe it. He began to realize that discipline isn't punishment, it's liberation. That consistency isn't a burden, it's the invisible path that leads to victory. He learned to deal with the silence of mornings, the weight of defeats, the emptiness that precedes results. And it was there, on days when no one applauded him, that he began to build his strength. There were setbacks, of course. Days when he wanted to give up, days when the old fear whispered again. But now he knew that the difference between those who win and those who give up isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to keep going, even if trembling. With each small step, something inside him was reborn. It wasn't a sudden transformation, it was a silent rebirth, built on routine, persistence, and self-knowledge. One morning he looked in the mirror again, but this time he saw something different. It was no longer the tired look of before. It was a steady, lively look, full of purpose. He realized that the world around him was still the same, the work, the bills, the challenges, but he had changed. And when the mind changes, the world responds. Opportunities began to arise, people began to notice his different energy, and what once seemed impossible began, little by little, to become reality. He finally understood that nothing changes until we change from within. That the secret isn't to do more, it's to be more. That success isn't a destination, it's a reflection of what we build silently in our minds and hearts. Life began to flow differently, and even on bad days, because they never cease to exist, he learned to take a deep breath and remember the lesson of that old man in the square. You can plant the best seed, but you have to believe in the soil. And that soil is you. It's your mind, your heart, your beliefs. From then on, every obstacle became a test, not a sentence. Every fall a chance to rise with greater wisdom. He learned that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. That it's not the world that needs to be easier, it's we who need to be stronger. And this strength doesn't come from outside. It comes from the silence of the early mornings when you decide to keep going. Time passed and that young man transformed, not just in what he did, but in who he was. He became someone who inspires, who motivates, who understands that true victories are not those that appear on social media, but those that happen within us, when we can silence fear and hear the voice of faith. And maybe this is the message you needed to hear today. Your life doesn't change when everything around you changes. It changes when you change the way you see what you already have. When you stop waiting for something magical to happen and start acting with purpose, with discipline, with faith. When you understand that the pain you feel now is not the end, it's the beginning of your strength. The mind is like a mirror. It reflects everything you believe about yourself. If you believe you're weak, the world will prove it to you every day. But if you believe you're capable, the universe will gradually reorganize itself to confirm that belief. Think about how many times you've given up, not because it was impossible, but because you doubted yourself. Think about how many dreams you've kept tucked away, waiting for the right moment, and ask yourself, what if the right moment is now? The path to transformation isn't a leap. It's one step at a time. It's waking up every day and choosing to be the best version of yourself, even when no one is watching. It's having the courage to look in the mirror and say, today I'm not where I want to be, but I'm closer than I was yesterday. True change doesn't happen from the outside in. It begins when you decide you'll no longer live with your mind stuck in the past, nor your heart filled with fear of the future. It begins when you understand that life owes you nothing, but offers you everything, as long as you're willing to fight, to learn, to grow. In the end, that young man discovered something many spend their entire lives failing to realize, that freedom lies in taking control of your own mind. That no one can change what you feel, think, or believe, only you. And that when you change your mindset, the world changes with you. Maybe you're at that point right now. Maybe you're tired, confused, full of doubts, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with losing yourself, as long as you have the courage to find yourself again. Everything you seek already exists within you. It's hidden beneath layers of fear, guilt, and comparison. And the first step is to stop judging yourself and start listening to yourself. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to take the first step with faith, because the truth is, the path reveals itself to those who walk, not to those who wait. So, if life seems hard today, if the weight seems unbearable, remember, you've overcome days you thought you couldn't handle. You were once stronger than you think, and you will be again. Believe. Change what you believe about yourself. Nourish your mind with courage, your routine with purpose, your heart with gratitude. Make discipline your ally, not your enemy. Understand that constancy is the name time gives to faith. And when you look back, you'll realize it wasn't luck that got you here. It was your determination. It wasn't fate. It was your daily choice to keep going, even when no one believed in you. Because in the end, it's simple. Life changes when you change. Everything you seek begins in the mirror. The moment you decide to be different, change your mindset, and your life will change. And if this message touched something within you, share it. Maybe someone, in silence, needs these exact words today. Maybe this is the missing seed for another heart to believe that it's possible to begin again,